Good morning, everyone. Thanks. Let's just get this set to where everyone can hear me when it's not too loud. Can you hear me in the back? No. What? That was you, Neil, wasn't it? Thank you. Okay. I'd like to thank everyone for being here, but before we welcome everyone, just a quick house cleaning. If anyone needs to use the restroom, the building is open. Staff will guide you. And at this time, I'm going to invite Commander Woods up for our invocation.
If you please rise and uncover. Today, we are here to honor those who have served our country and given their lives so that we may stand here and still live in freedom. We need to be constantly reminded of our gift of freedom and those who gave all to make sure the future generations continue to know life in free, democratic society. Remembering those who have passed is only the half of the task that is before us today. We must also carry out their love, their honor, and their duty forward to the future generations that will pass. Our children must know who they were, what they did, and why they did it. To do anything less will be a disservice to their sacrifice and their memories. Those that are gone created a clear pathway for us to continue on. We must never waver from the path of freedom and democracy. Take their memories, take their dreams, and walk forward shouldering the cause of freedom. I'll close. I have a quote from Isaiah chapter 6, verse 8, that I feel that every service member, whoever swore to protect this country, has always had the same answer. Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, "Whom shall I send? And who will go for us?" And we all said, "Here I am, send me." Amen.
You don't care to hold the papers for me, do you? But that's okay. I don't need it. I want to welcome everyone. May be seated, please. Relax. I want to welcome everyone here to the Indian Trail Veterans Memorial Garden on this Memorial Day 2021. Let this garden be a place of closure. Let it be a place of memory for those that have served and given their lives so that we may sit here today in freedom. Let their memories serve of horrors around the world that our men and women were called up and their families left behind, and then a knock came at the door saying their family member will never be home again. They too have lost a piece of their soul and their heart in battle. Let us be thankful for those that didn't hesitate to hear the call to protect this nation from terrors, both domestic and abroad. We're a very lucky nation to have each other. Let us use the memory of those that have served and did not come home to unite us once again as a nation, to be more tolerable with each other, to understand our differences, where we came from, and where we can go together. It is just a small step that can bring a small smile as they each look down upon us today. We've come far, but we have a long way to go. All I can say is thank you for being here today. Thank you for honoring the memory of those that gave the ultimate sacrifice for our nation and our community. We all owe them a debt of gratitude. May God bless you. May God bless and hold the United States of America in your hand, and His grace shine down upon us now and forever. Thank you. This time, We'll ask the VFW Honor Guard to present the colors.
Mark, Mark, oh, left, right.
Boy Scouts would lead us in the pledge, please.
Present, arms.
Hand salute. Will everyone please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Order, arm. Right, face. Forward, Mark.
First, I'd like to invite Commander of our American Legion here in the intro, John. Oh, please be seated, yes. Sorry. I still have to work on that whole stand-up. Sit down. John.
Good morning, everyone. And thank you for coming for the 2021 Indian Trail Memorial Day ceremony. Today we honor our fallen, those in the military who gave their lives so we can be free today. Now, my name is John Gray. I'm the commander of the American Legion right here in Indian Trail. We're about 2 blocks as the crow flies behind the post office on 74. We're in a business park on Business Park Drive. We have a very nice canteen, a very nice open area for social events. So all you veterans, if you'd like to join the American Legion, please come and join us. The American Legion is the largest veterans association in the country. We now have new requirements for the Legion. As long as you served in the U.S. military and have an honorable discharge, you are now eligible for the American Legion. That's Army, Navy, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, National Guard, Reserves. And of course now we have a new group that has entered the military, the Space Force. So we welcome the Space Force. Now, years ago, in another life, in another time, I was in Malaysia. And I had 2 young people ask me, John, how come it's always America that's in the wars? And that's a good question, because we lost a lot of men and women defending freedom around the world. The answer I gave them was, yes, there are times we have self-interest. We need to have the free market for oil and gas. We need to have supplies of raw materials we don't have in the U.S. But more than that, we are today, and have been for many years, the only country with the military strength, the financial resources, and the moral focus to take on evil in the world. We cannot let the world go to pot and think we're going to live just happily and live our lives. So that was the answer I gave them. Now today, I would like to talk a little bit about the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. I'd like to say that the American Legion has always been involved in that memorial. 1920, we had a vet that came back from the First World War and became a congressman. He was also one of the founders of the American Legion. And he pushed through Congress a bill that allowed for one of the unknowns from the battlefield of France to be returned to the United States and placed in a memorial to honor our fallen. That was in 1920. Now in 1921, of the 4 original unknowns selected, one was chosen and brought back to the United States via the USS Olympia. And again, I'm proud to say the American Legion provided the honor guard all the way back. So, since then, the Legion has always been involved in the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. In 1926, we facilitated the surveillance to the tomb from sunrise to sunset. And in 1937, at the insistence of the American Legion, a military guard was permanently established 24 hours, 7 days a week. Now going forward, in 1956, American Legion member and President Dwight David Eisenhower selected an unknown from both World War II and Korea to be added to the tomb. Shortly thereafter, the American Legion awarded these unknowns the Distinguished Service Medal. Going forward, in 1969, Legionnaire and President Richard Nixon flipped the switch to permanently light the tomb. Now, that lighting, the American Legion donated almost $200,000 for that project, and we're still very proud of that. Now, in 1987, which is a lot more current, Ronald Reagan acted as next of kin for an unknown from the Vietnam War. Fortunately or unfortunately, in 1998, because of DNA testing, that unknown soldier was identified. He was an Air Force man. And so, since then, and he was repatriated with his family. Fortunately or unfortunately, we now have that crypt that contained his remains vacant today. So where does that leave us? Where are we going with all this? Today, the torch of freedom that these brave men and women died for is now passed to you, the American public. Unfortunately, today, the world is upside down. We see corruption in the news. We see corruption in the FBI, the CIA, the IRS, the State Department. We see censorship we've never had before. We see legislation that has great names, except that's not what the bill contains. We see school systems at every level teaching our kids today that this country is a bad country and always has been a bad country. That's not true. So where does that leave us? Where can you, the American public, continue to maintain our freedom? My answer is become involved. Become involved in your political parties, become involved in your school systems, and try to become, as best you can, an educated, very educated person. Again, our fallen comrades died for your freedom. Don't let them down, and don't let that torch go out. You now carry the torch of freedom, and hopefully it's in good hands. So thank you very much for your attention, and may God continue to bless this great country of ours, the United States of America. Thank you.
I still have one hand. I need more than one hand for that. Okay. All right. Can you still hear me?
What?
At this. I love all you guys. Don't worry.
At this time,
I'd like to welcome Commander Don Kegel of the James B. Crump.
VFW Post here on Indian Trail, for a few words.
Commander.
Thank you, and good morning. My name's Don Cagle, and I'm the commander of the Indian Trail James B. Crump Post 2423. First of all, I want to thank everyone that's attending today. I want to thank Mayor Alvarez for his support for this joint program. I want to thank our guest speaker, Colonel Baird, for being here today, and especially our Parks and Recreation Department that we worked diligently with here the last few months to have this service today. Hayden, thank you, and to your staff very much. And finally, to all of our guests, welcome. This is a joint program with the town of Indian Trail, the Indian Trail American Legion Post 458, and the VFW. We want you to see who your veterans are and what we do for your community. And this is our first opportunity to have a joint service for the public after gaining town approval last year. As we all know, we could have done this last year, but we would all been wearing masks and we probably wouldn't have been able to identify who we were, and probably sitting 6 feet apart. So it's nice to finally get past the pandemic and have a little more freedom here to get out in the public and feel a little bit safe without so much anxiety. Hopefully you all had your shots. On this Memorial Day weekend, as our nation emerges from the pandemic, we have much to celebrate as a nation. And yet we must also stop and reflect, reminding ourselves of the true meaning of this and every Memorial Day. From before our country was a nation, Americans have given their lives in the name of freedom. For those they left behind, there will always be a void. Our guest speaker will talk about the significance of this day as we come together to remember those lost in the clash of battle, the thunder of bombs, the roar of tanks, the rumbling of airplanes flying overhead, and the scream of artillery shells. We come together today, even if only in mind and spirit, to honor the many sacrifices made for our freedom. Our members of the VFW Post 2423 are all combat veterans who served our nation in a foreign land in time of conflict. If you served in battle, we will welcome you into our ranks where we assist veterans and the community. Again, thank you for attending this program today, and I look forward to visiting with you at the conclusion of the service.
Thank you, Commander. It's my great honor to introduce our keynote speaker for today, Colonel Jerry E. Baird, Jr. Colonel Jerry E. Baird, Jr. is currently assigned to the North Carolina Director of Counter-Drug, as well as the Brigade Commander for the 2,500 soldiers assigned to the 130th Maneuver Enhancement Brigade. Colonel Baird received a Bachelor's of Applied Science degree from Mars Hill University in June 1995 and was commissioned as a military officer through the Officer Candidate School at the North Carolina Military Academy, Fort Bragg, North Carolina, as a second lieutenant in engineering August of 1995. Colonel Baird received a Master's in Education, Training and Development from the North Carolina State University in 2012. Colonel Baird has served for more than 33 years, commanding units at every level. He is a recognized combat leader, having led over 500 soldiers, airmen, sailors, and Marines in OIF 3. Colonel Baird served at the Pentagon at the national level as a senior law enforcement officer, anti-terrorism officer, provost marshal, civil unrest liaison officer, and the protection division chief of the National Guard Bureau. Colonel Baird is a graduate of the United States Air Force War College, Maxwell, Alabama, and the executive level Joint Combined Warfare School, National Defense University. He has completed the Department of Defense Anti-Terrorism's Level 1 through 4 courses, Security Engineering course, as well as the Harvard Kennedy School's Executive Leadership in Crisis Management and Homeland Security course. His personal awards include the Bronze Star, Defense Meritorious Service Medal, 6 Meritorious Service Medals, Combat Action Badge, the Army Commendation Medal, Army Staff Badge, Airborne and Air Assault Badges, Moldovan Army Fraternity of Armed Service Medal, Valley Forge Cross for Heroism, and various other personal and service awards. Colonel Baird resides in Western North Carolina with his wife Leslie and their 2 sons, Chase and Seth. Colonel Baird accepted a position to serve as the adjunct professor for Western Carolina University in 2017. It is with great honor to have Colonel Baird here today as our keynote speaker. If we all would just give him a brief round of applause as he takes the stage.
Hey, I appreciate it, and hopefully you appreciate that flyover I coordinated. Hey, so I'll go ahead and tell you up front, I am going to read from my notes, and you'll want that, because I've found that as I've gotten older, trying to wing it is just not working for me. So bear with me, if you will. A couple of admin notes. This is the new Army green uniform. Just went to this. I think the Army finally did something right with the uniform and went back in time to the greatest generation and selected this uniform. And I will tell you, it's kind of our daily uniform. It's between the tactical operations uniform that my deputies wear over there, and I saw the bugler hiding somewhere right there in the dress uniform, which is our next level up. So just kind of give you a background on the uniform. You know, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for being here today. And I know you've been told that before, but it really does mean something to gather around as a group. And I'll be honest, I feel more comfortable in this group and this forum than any place I've ever been. So I appreciate that. Very special, and thanks for allowing me to be here. You know, I've made a pleasure myself anytime I get a gathering together like this, a crowd of more than 3. I want to take the chance to recognize and thank the first responders, those men and women that put the uniform on every day, that are out there in our communities, our neighborhoods, the cities, keeping us safe, our friends and families safe. I mean, it is truly what they do every day that allows men and women like me to put the uniform on and leave our families behind, knowing they're safe. So thank you. Appreciate you. You know, what a great nation we live in, right? That all over the country, in communities, neighborhoods, cities, just like this, people are gathering together, you know, one time a year at least, to recognize those that have fallen. They gave the ultimate sacrifice, wrote that check that was cashed, you know, so long ago. So on that note, we all know when it is our time, you know, it will be the stories that we will be remembered by. And as we live, we have a little chance to write that narrative, but the reality is our actions, what we do and what we don't do, will be what will be remembered. So as we remember stories of these heroes that I'm going to mention today, just know that it represents the many. So remembering great Americans today from World War I, like Private First Class Waldrop. Waldrop left his hometown in Sylvan, North Carolina, just over the mountain here, and joined the Army in 1918. He received the Distinguished Service Cross for extraordinary heroism in actions near Verdun, France, in October of 1918. You know, the story goes Private Waldrop, with an officer and 6 other soldiers, drove off a violent assault of 50 or more enemy after a terrific pistol and grenade fight, thereby holding Hill 269, which was of the utmost tactical importance. While defending Hill 269, during the fighting, Private Waldrop was killed. Remember one of our heroes here from Union County, Second Lieutenant Paul Parker. He was recognized for extraordinary heroism in the actions near Extremont, France, October 5th, 1918. With total disregard for his own personal danger, he advanced directly on a machine gun 150 yards away while the enemy was firing directly at him. He killed the gunner with his pistol. He was recognized as one of the most awarded soldiers of World War I. He received the Medal of Honor, Distinguished Service Cross, 2 Silver Stars, Legion of Merit, and 2 Purple Hearts. Amazing men. These 2 men died, one in combat, one many years later at the age of 84. but they stood alongside 116,708 other heroes who died in the World War I era, and the unfortunate many who have since died. Let us remember heroes from World War II, like Private First Class James Crump from Henry Bridge, just up the road here. But he definitely was an honored member here in Indian Trails community. He was described by most of those that knew him as being humble, like many of the greatest generation were known for. He did not consider himself a hero, but I would argue he most certainly was, as he fought from the beaches of Normandy to the Battle of the Bulge. He was awarded 2 Bronze Stars, 3 Purple Hearts, all of which I can assure you he earned. They were not given in the service to this great nation. May he always be remembered, alongside the 407,316 others who died in the World War II era, and the many who have died since then. Today we remember heroes from the Korean War like Kenneth Shadrick, born in Harlan County, Kentucky. Kenneth was one of 10 children. His family tells a story, they call him Kenny. He had saved up his money, $5, to buy a football uniform for his high school football team because the football team was so poor they couldn't afford uniforms. One day that uniform was stolen out of his locker. Kenny got so mad in 1948 he joined the Army. That's how it happens, right? That's how we go. But in 1950, during a patrol in Korea, Kenny was killed by a machine gunner from a T-34 tank, a tank that he had disabled just moments later with a bazooka shot. Kenny was one of the first to die in the Korean War era, alongside of 55,000 other Americans. Let us always remember them and those who have passed on since then. Today, remembering heroes from the Vietnam era war, like the 12 airmen who died that were assigned to defend Lima Site 85, a classified outpost in Laos. One of those airmen, Chief Master Sergeant Richard Etchberger from Hamburg, Pennsylvania. The story begins like this. In March of 1968, Etchberger and his team looked out off the mountain and saw thousands and thousands of North Vietnamese surrounding Lima Site 85. They had a decision to make. 1, evacuate, or 2, stand fast and conduct the mission. They chose to stay, hoping the cliffs to the sides of the mountain was defense enough to hold off the North Vietnamese. Their location was important, isolated on the top of the mountainside so they could identify bombing targets in Laos and North Vietnam. Code name for the top secret mission was called Heavy Green. So the North Vietnamese eventually did scale the mountain cliffs and assaulted on the hilltop in force. Chief Etchberger's Medal of Honor citation reads, with the arrival of the rescue aircraft, Chief Etchberger, without hesitation, repeatedly and deliberately risked his own life, exposed himself to enemy fire in order to place 3 surviving wounded comrades into rescue slings, hanging from the hovering helicopter, waiting to airlift them to safety. After finally boarding the helicopter himself, Etchberger was struck by an armor-piercing round that ripped through the bottom of the helicopter. He bled to death en route to an air base in Thailand, dying just 6 days after his 35th birthday. Chief Etchberger posthumously received the Medal of Honor in 2010 after the mission was finally declassified. Let's recognize Chief Etchberger as he fought and unfortunately died alongside 90,220 fellow Americans from the Vietnam era and the many who have passed on since then. So through these stories today, I'd ask you to remember one of my soldiers, Army Sergeant David Williams. He was a military police NCO out of Tarboro, North Carolina. His family called him Blake. So he joined the Army National Guard in the Army in July of 2003. He served alongside myself and Command Sergeant Major Hummel back there hiding in the back. Later on, he went for his second deployment. In March 22, 2008, at the age of 26, he was killed when his vehicle encountered an improvised explosive device. Now, his family would tell you that Blake, he felt like he had a calling to serve. And as his commander, I will tell you, I feel he did too. He was a great American. The stories I remember of Williams is the day in and day out when he was off shift, standing behind the buildings 100-something degrees in Iraq, throwing a baseball bouncing off the concrete wall. And catching it in a glove I felt certain he wore in high school. Every day when he was off, that's where you could find him. What a great American, right? I like this story Sergeant Williams has left me to remember him by. So another one of mine from Iraq that I'd like us to remember is Air Force Airman First Class Elizabeth Jacobson. She was born in Riviera Beach, Florida. She was assigned to the 17th Security Forces Squadron. She died at the age of 21, very young age, September 28, 2005, near Camp Mook, Iraq, where I was the commander. She died when an improvised explosive device detonated and also destroyed her vehicle and killed herself. She has a great story. Airman First Class Jacobson had a hard life. She had already planned to leave Iraq and go back to Florida because she wanted to start a career in law enforcement. Her story is very interesting, to say the least. If you read about her, she's a great American. She wanted to go back and start law enforcement and have 2 sons one day. In an email to friends and family, she wrote, "I want to die happy and have a productive life. I hope nobody wishes I was never born. I hope my kids never tell me they wish I were like their friend's mom. I hope that I make money, but I don't end up a workaholic or stuck up." What a great perspective from a young person. So remembering her today and Sergeant Williams and the 7,036 other heroes who have died alongside them to date in Iraq and Afghanistan. So I understand today is Memorial Day, but I'd like to offer that there's another group of Americans we should also remember today that we oftentimes forget. If it was not for these great Americans, Memorial Day may not have even started. It is the spouses and the family that have been left behind. Those who have also paid a great sacrifice to this great nation. You know, the Department of Veteran Affairs reports there are 610 surviving spouses and 907 children from the World War I era. 107,462 surviving spouses and 7,047 children from World War II era. 72,574 surviving spouses, 1,893 children from the Korean War era. 320,240 surviving spouses and 4,852 children from the Vietnam era. Over 40,000 spouses and 6,000 children since the Gulf War. So please do not forget them, as the roles and sacrifices have been great. So in closing, I'd like to leave you with a warrior's poem that I feel like we all can learn a little from. It was written by Chief Tecumseh. I'm sure some of you know it. So live your life that the fear of death can never enter your heart. Trouble no one about their religion, respect others and their view, and demand that they respect yours. Love your life, perfect your life, beautify all things in your life, seek to make your life long and its purpose in the service of your people. Prepare a noble song, a noble death song for the day when you go over the great divide. Always give a word or a sign or salute when meeting a passing friend, even a stranger, when in a lonely place. Show respect to all people and grovel to none. When you arise in the morning, give thanks for the food and for the joy of living. If you see no reason to give thanks, the fault lies in yourself. Abuse no one and no thing, for the abuse turns the wise ones to fools and robs the spirit of its vision. And when it comes your time to die, be not like those whose hearts are filled with fear of death, so that when their time comes, they weep and pray for a little more time to live their lives once again in a different way, yet sing your death song and die like a hero going home. So I'd ask you to take the time today to remember the stories of the service members. It is not a day of celebration, it is a day of memory. Remember those who have fallen, and in turn we also will honor the families that have given so much to this great nation. I hope that we all choose wisely how we choose to live, knowing that our actions will be what defines us and the stories our family and friends that are left behind will tell about us. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for being here, and God bless you all this Memorial Day. Thank you. I've got my notes. The color guard will fire a few rounds, so those vets like me out there that may have been shot at before, please don't crawl into your seat.
Commander.
We will now ask the color guard to present the three-round ball. Service members and veterans, 10 hut, present arms. Order arms. We'll now have a few comments in closing from the mayor.
Before closing, I'd like to invite Commander Tim back up to the stage for a benediction.
Before we have our closing prayer, I'd like just to miss what the Colonel said. If there's any Gold Star families, please rise. Just thank you for your sacrifices for our country. Now I got everybody standing, remain standing, we'll do the closing prayer. Uncover. We remember today all those who have come before us and given the greatest gift to our democratic nation, their lives. Their duty, their honor, and their lives are precious gifts that must be given to the future of our country and our families. The duty of our veterans, past and present, is the fiber of the word freedom, and it is stronger by our recognition of service and sacrifice. We honor that service and sacrifice today, and should carry it forward for our children to honor. Freedom and democracy are the result of all the most honorable this country has produced. Today, we stand to remember the most honorable among us, and we must continue to carry the burden of their sacrifice, lest we lose the sight of what true freedom is. And I will close it with a reading of John chapter 15, verse 13. Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. Amen. Amen.
First, I wanted to take a moment to thank Commander John from the American Legion. Commander John at the James B. Crump, DFW Post 2423 here in the UK. Our humble and gracious keynote speaker, Colonel Baird. And Commander Tim Woods, for we know not what he actually does. Couple brief closing announcements. Memorial Day is a day to remember those we lost in body and soul here on earth. But also, many fought and came home in body, but in mind and soul, they were lost somewhere on the battlefield. Let us remember them too, as they seek to find themselves again in a place here in our hearts and our home, let them know they were always welcome, and help them to be healed again. And closing remark, don't forget we have our July 4th parade coming on July 3rd, Saturday. Please check our town site for that. And thank you all for being here today to remember those we lost, and have a wonderful and blessed Memorial Day. God bless.